Hello, welcome. Even though I look like a meme of evil Kermit the Frog right now, it's important to me that you know an attempt at coziness has been made. We've got fairy lights, we've got candles, we've got the whatever this is that I get every year and never learn the name of it. Surely it's just called like the Christmas leaf plant. Wait a sec, where's the bin? Poinsettia ceramic. Sure. So this video is going to be both a departure and a return. It's not going to be as structured as my normal videos, but at the same time, it's going to be exactly what you'd expect of me had you been around from 2009 onwards on this channel. An existential ramble, way less edited, and hopefully with something nice to think about at the end. Anyway, I've been making a lot of notes recently about lockdown, and I'm kind of really sick of like the op-eds that are like, what we can learn from lockdown, because it implies that there is like some kind of meaning to pain and how like pain needs to happen for us to grow. And I don't always think that's possible. I think challenges are important, but it kind of like implies that it's okay that the world is a bit shit, or that politicians didn't listen to all of the many warnings they had about this specific pandemic literally years ago, podcast that I made about that up here. It implies that all of that doesn't matter, and that like it's okay because this 2020 like has this really deep pivotal meaning, and I just don't think that's the case. But on the other hand, I am always in need of a little pep talk, and I guess that maybe some of you are as well. Craig, my boyfriend, is so good at giving pep talks to me, and I've really been needing them, especially this week. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm having a really genuinely very shit week, and for no actual reason, which in some ways makes it more confusing to live through, because there's just like no, you know, like somebody can be like, oh, why are you sad? And then you offer up some reasons that you kind of estimate is why you're feeling bad. And then they counteract that with like, oh, well, at least it's not this. Or that's okay because soon it will change into this. And you're like, I know all those things are true, but it literally makes me feel no better. Hence the Kermit hoodie. But I kind of like wanted to make this video because I know that some of you guys have similar personalities to me, especially when I meet people in person who have watched my channel, and I'm like, oh, it would make sense because we are quite similar. And it's not even that I'm probably that good, it's more that you just like, there's like a certain vibe going on. So anyway, this is a pep talk really for myself to watch back, but I thought I'd put it on the internet because 2020, why not? And then also because I have a feeling that it might help some of you as well. I don't know if this has happened to anybody else this year, but like I keep having really helpful, profound thoughts and then forgetting them completely. So it's almost like I have the emotional and intellectual resources to get through this, but I don't have I have a goldfish issue as well, where I keep forgetting why it's all going to be okay and why it's not that bad and stuff like that. I'm currently recording this on the 26th of November. I've got no idea when this is going to go up, but England and specifically London is very much in a heavy lockdown again. And I think that at the beginning of December we're gonna come out of it. I think from what I've seen that London might be only in like tier 2 or something, or like a little bit of a softer lockdown. But I know have a lot of friends in the Midlands and up north who aren't going to be, and that might be some of you as well. And wherever you are in the world, I hope that if you are in hard lockdown, this helps in some way, because I think that it's so easy to like focus too hard on being like, well, it's not, I haven't died, this hasn't happened, like, I really don't have anything to complain about, which is like so true. But then your body doesn't know that. Your body isn't like something that can see a whole population and have like a really nice like fly over like some kind of snowman and see the context of your anguish and your like worry, because bodies don't have brains. Wait, hold on a second. This analogy is about to fall very flat. Bodies do have brains, but your body, you know what I mean. Your respiratory system, I've lost all my words today. Your anyway, the responses in your body don't have an analytical like brain. They're not reading the BBC News. They're not like reading scientific journals. They're like that know that you're not really in danger, or that we'll probably have a cure soon, and then things might be okay. Like your body doesn't know that. All your body knows is that you haven't been treating yourself very nicely. Maybe you've been sleeping too much or not enough. It knows that you haven't been outside as often as you were last year, and it's confused about that and is like, I was used to this much vitamin D and now I'm only getting this. Excuse me, can I speak to the manager? It knows that you're not having as much social interaction as you usually do. It knows that you're not getting hugs as often maybe, or like touching people as much. It knows that you're not seeing anything new or getting any like really real physical experiences. It might know that you're not exercising as much, or that you're eating differently, and it's kind of like, what? Can somebody, what? Where's my memo? I've checked my spam folder. I have no messages about this. So yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that it's okay that your body is still reacting in this weird way, even though you might be really privileged and you're safe and everything is probably going to be okay in the end. And I was listening to this podcast with Alan de Botton, specifically about COVID. It was a lot earlier in lockdown, to be honest. It's on the How to Fail podcast, and he was talking about how it's not like it. You kind of have to ask yourself in the end, like, is it going to be not? Is it going to be good? Or is it going to be okay in the end? Because it might be okay for you. It might end up really well. But it's a valid point. And the same when I try and talk about eco-anxiety and climate change, it kind of could go really wrong. And there's no way of like being like a rational, fair, kind human and telling you it's going to be okay for you, because it might not be. And it would be weird of me to imply that it would. And he kind of says like, but will it be bearable? It might not be okay, but do you feel like you could bear it? And not that you'd enjoy it or that it would be good, but say if like a family member died, or you lost your job or something, like is there a place that you think you could get to where you'd be able to handle it in some way? And you know, there's some situations that I still haven't really thought about in my head that I'm like, I don't think I would be okay. But there are a lot of the situations that I'm worrying about that actually I think, while it would be really hard, I do have the mental resources to bear it. And that doesn't mean that I'd be happy about it, and it probably would affect me. But I think also, like, for those people who have had the rug pulled from under them before in their lives, and that could mean like a plethora of different things. I've had several moments where I feel like the rug has been pulled from under me, and that doesn't mean like one bad thing happened to me, or that something really dramatic happened. It just means that like the rug, like the thing that you think you're standing on, that is like a given, and that you don't really even see or question, gets completely pulled from under you. And for me, that was like retrospectively, what I think that was realizing that I was going to die, and in a very specific way, in that I know I basically, like, and this isn't a problem, but like when you grow up in a like faith household and a faith community, you get taught that you're going to live forever. And for me, and maybe in my naive mind, that meant that I didn't really think about death at all, because I was like, it's fine, I'll go to heaven, I'm just literally never going to die. And imagine knowing as a human that you're never going to die, and then walking around like you're never going to die. I was the happiest kid you'd ever meet. But when I got into my 20s and I realised that I didn't really believe in that, that was a rug. That was a huge rug that got pulled from under me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die, and then nobody will ever know who I really was, even though you people have impressions of it. Anyway, you know what I mean. And then also I think like I had a really big relationship in my late teens and early 20s that was very significant, and that fell through, to put it mildly. And I was, you know, engaged and stuff, and and that got pulled from under me, and that was a huge like building block that I had to literally defrag my brain, recalibrate, and be like, hang on, those things were not true. And I think since then, that's one of the privileges I have, is I have an advantage, I think, because the rug has been pulled from under me before, which is why I think that lockdown 1, remember season 1, when the characters felt so new and the plot lines seemed so fresh. That's why I think I dealt with it okay at the beginning, was because of that, because I was like, wow, I had the mental resources to deal with it. I'm not really dealing with it as well this time, and I'm not really sure why, but there is some comfort again in thinking, actually, I could bear a lot of the bad things that might happen, and I know that I'm not going to enjoy the rest of this lockdown, and if we have to go back into lockdown in January, it's not going to be fun. I'm not going to be ecstatic about it, but could I bear it? Yeah, I think I could bear it, and get some good box sets watched in the meantime, I guess. But I have some notes on my phone that I wanted to... Woo! What lighting! So one of the things I had on my little notes on my phone was that your body is trying to protect you. And like I said, your body doesn't know what's going on. So if you don't go outdoors, and you're not touching people, and you're also not like in groups, I think that, and I think, I probably watched some TED Talks on this, but it seems logical to me that your body would panic, because obviously being in a pack of people means safety to your like Neanderthalic brain. It means that like if you're not around people, it's like, well, who's going to protect you? You're out in the wilderness, you're out in the wastelands. How are you going to find food and get shelter if you're not in a pack? That's how you stay safe. And also there is a TED Talk I watched, I know this one exists, about the science of touch, and how if you're not touched, if you're not getting physical touch from people, it just genuinely fuck with your head in a very chemical way, especially if you've grown up without a lot of touch. It can affect your brain development and stuff. And anyway, I'll leave the link to that below so you can have a little meltdown / hopeful thought about that, because it does, I kind of like want to send that to people and be like, we should hug more when this is over. Let's have loads of hugs. So yeah, especially I really feel for you if you're not I've found it really helpful to live with my significant other, because we have lots of hugs and it makes me feel so much better. It's such a stress reliever. So anyway, that's something to think about, is just like, your body doesn't know. And there's not really any way of telling it. You just kind of have to comfort it and look after it a bit. And you can't expect it to be functioning on 110%. Is it getting too dark in here now? Should I put a lamp on? Oh, I love an uncut video. No, I like it cozy. Fuck it, you don't need to see my facial expressions. Oh my god, I'm a stone cold genius. I'm going to play this video on YouTube called 24 Hours of Pure White Screen. And I'm going to light myself like, this is just... What kind of talent is this? I can't even handle it. Well, now I can't look at my notes. Failed. What were we talking about? Yeah, it's okay if you don't have... If you don't respond very well to routines. Okay, what really squashes my balls about this is that I feel like so much mental health advice is all about following a routine, getting stuff in your diary, and like doing the same thing every day. However, something that I suspected about myself for a long time, and has been further confirmed by the pandemic, is that I don't respond to routines very well. In fact, they're kind of quite detrimental for my mental health, and that's fine, and I'm glad that they work for so many people. But the thought and the experience of me doing the same thing every day, even like little things like having a morning routine, really grinds my gear. Like it kind of like genuinely angers something in me, for me. I'm just like, well, if I know what's going to happen every day and I don't get to make choices based on how I feel, like what kind of coffee I'm going to have, or like whether I'm going to do yoga, yes or no, what's the point? Like, what was the point in all this autonomy we've all fought for? But anyway, that's like my irrational brain talking. If you have a routine, I totally respect that. But I also really want to recognise that there's probably a small portion to maybe large portion of humanity that doesn't respond well to routine at all. And I found that doing the same thing every day like genuinely depresses me. And it's one of the reasons that I've been for the last I don't know how, subconsciously probably about 5 years, been working towards working for myself and being a freelancer, and also one of these people, whatever this is, my little rectangular video life, because I actually just don't want to, and I think that's okay. It doesn't, like, I can if I have to, but it's also okay to just to be like, I don't want to have a routine. I want to work really hard, and I often work like 10, 13-hour days sometimes, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to get on the same train and go to the same place and do the same thing. And living in our beautiful wee little cozy flat, that's the word we're using, and doing the same thing every day has been, whoa, it's getting brighter. Why is that? Genuinely a little distressing, and I don't really know. I think I don't really have a takeaway from that apart from once I stopped trying to have a routine, and that doesn't mean like not having something healthy that you're doing every day, or making sure you're getting enough sleep and enough exercise and enough food, because I'm doing that. It's just that it's not at the same time every day and in the same method, and I don't eat the same thing for breakfast every day, because that would be rubbish. So if you haven't gathered from this, you're probably never going to get a morning routine video from me. It's not going to happen. What was my next point? I have to get rid of my white screen to find it. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of related, is seeing this as an opportunity. Doesn't make 2020 mean anything, but seeing this as an opportunity to work out what your coping mechanisms are. And I don't think all coping mechanisms are bad. And I also think that sometimes we frame stuff like constant, very meticulous routines and yoga practice and I don't know, like activities that are healthy, but at the end of the day are coping mechanisms. We frame them as something else. Like, you kind of, like, say somebody who really likes doing the same yoga practice every morning and like does it really early and gets up at 5 a.m. and then makes like loads of videos about how great that is. Like, it's not a coping mechanism. It's not, it can be really good for you and help you, but it is something that you lean on, and it's okay. That's okay that that's the thing. But I also think it's okay if your coping mechanisms are different. And I guess this relates to the routine, but it also means like loads of other things. Like maybe it's just that you want to go on really gentle walks all the time and you don't want to jog, or you, I don't know, like for me, I've been getting into some reality TV, but like good anyway, we'll talk about that later, but good reality TV. I've been watching Next in Fashion, and I think that it is very pure. One of the coping mechanisms that's bad for me is like eating. I eat when I grieve, I eat when I celebrate. Like when I have extreme emotions, I feel like I need to note that with a meal or a packet of crisps, or I don't know, something. And I have to recognise that is a coping mechanism, and it's not the best one for me all the time, although sometimes a little bit of peanut butter fingers, never a bad thing. But yeah, for me, not being like, I should not need coping mechanisms, I should be stronger than this, but being like, that's my coping mechanism. Maybe let's find a variety of those so I don't always go to that one, or let's try and transfer my coping mechanism into something else, because at the end of the day, like I've said to people before, that it's like, it feels like 2020 is a very weird time to struggle mentally, because it's not like I just picture having a therapy session and then being like, so what's wrong? And it's like, well, I've been trapped in my 380 square feet flat for 9 months, and I don't know when I'm next going to be able to hug my family, and all these other things that are really up in the air, and they'll be like, oh, how can we fix that? And I'm like, we can't fix that right now. That's not like, it doesn't have the same, you can't use the same advice. And Katie Morton has loads of really good videos actually about the pandemic and mental health, and I just want to stress that I am not a mental health professional and have never been treated for my own mental health, so I would like to leave a link below and be like, don't follow my advice on this. But it is a weird thing to go through when you're like, oh well, what would I say to them? Like, it's, you know, everybody's going through it, it will end. It's just, to get there you need to get some reserves and mentally protect yourself so that you're in an okay place when you come out of it. It's not something that you could make a plan for and change, because that's up to Boris Johnson, apparently. Brilliant. So encouraged. What was my next point? The next one is something I've been saying since the beginning of lockdown, kind of. And maybe I heard it from somewhere, but I couldn't really find out where I did. So maybe I made it up. Who knows? But it's kind of this thing that is like, you're giving up a year of your life so that you can have the rest of them. And that might not be so applicable if you're younger like me and not at risk, but could be, because there's still a risk. And also it's kind of so that everybody else can have the rest of them, especially if you're like older or you are at high risk. Like, it's kind of like you have to give up the experiences of this year so that you get to have the rest of them and you don't die, basically. I know it's really dark, but it's like, that's the thing. And it's the same with Christmas. In the UK, we're being told that like some of the restrictions are going to lift for Christmas, at least in England. And they're going to scrap social distancing for 5 days and stuff like that. And I'm not going to be doing that, because I kind of like my parents are like a bit older, and they also have like health conditions, which means they're high risk. And like, basically I have to give up a Christmas with them this year so that I get to have other Christmases with them. And I can't like stress that enough. I know there was a lot of like scientists being like, you can not social distance for Christmas, but like be prepared to attend a funeral. Like, that's it's really like dark, but like that's the reality of it for a lot of people. And maybe not for everybody. Maybe you feel safe being with your family at Christmas, but I don't. And for me, that's the logical choice, is that I would like to celebrate more Christmases with my elderly family. Sorry, I keep calling my parents elderly in these videos. You're not that elderly, I know you watch them. Yeah, so anyway, that's another thought. The other thought I had was some things I can enjoy about this year that won't come back again, hopefully. One is mask wearing, and I made a whole list of reasons on my phone why I love wearing a mask and why I'm going to miss it when it's gone. I hope you're ready, because this really helps me when I'm thinking about stuff. I'm going to have to light myself like this. God, it's getting really dark, isn't it? I kind of like it. It's fine. Who cares? No one. Number one, being able to cry on the bus in privacy. So I'm somebody who likes to listen to some emotion podcasts. If you have not listened to Dolly Parton's America podcast, I challenge you to listen to that podcast and not cry. And also, I just sometimes listen to songs that make me cry, or I just think about stuff in it. I'm just a big like crier in public. So a few times I had got the bus when it was like for like very specific reasons, when we were on a lighter lockdown. But also just generally in public crying. Nobody notices that you're like ugly crying if you're wearing a mask. So you can kind of walk through and like listen to an emotional album, and then like inside be like, and your whole face can drop and you can have tears. People don't know, and it's great. It's kind of like having your own living room walk around your head, walking around with a living room around your head. Sure. The second one was being able to lip sync to musicals in public without judgment. So I've been doing a lot of walking around and like actually like singing to what I'm doing, and people don't stare at me as much as they did when I did it before. So that's been very nice as well. I'm really enjoying that. Rediscovering eyeshadow. I don't know if you've noticed by all the recent videos, but eyeshadow wasn't really my thing before lockdown. I didn't really like hone in on it as a skill. I was very much about the lipstick, still am. But because of obviously lipstick transfers onto masks, and it can kind of like look like you've just like eaten a jam monster when you take your mask off, I have been rediscovering eyeshadow, and it's been great. Next one, not getting any other illnesses. Yes, I haven't been ill since January, like in any way ill. And usually, especially because I was using London public transport multiple times a day, every single day, I was getting like mammoth like flu and colds and little sniffles and like, you know, like stomach bugs, all sorts of stuff. I'd probably have one every other month, like at least. and I haven't been ill. It's been great. And like, that's because I've been wearing a mask everywhere, and I haven't got any of the other inconsequential illnesses that I used to get. And I haven't been using public transport, maybe once or twice, but basically not at all this year. And it's been great. Not needing to smile in public. This is another one that I realised I was doing, is that I was just like trying to look personable in public, and I didn't realise I was doing it until I was wearing a mask and I didn't have to. And that kind of means like just looking like somebody could approach me and ask for directions, like walking into a shop and trying to look cheery. And I don't know if this is just like maybe a British thing, or maybe it's a woman thing, but like I realised that I have like trying not to scowl, because that's just how my face looks when it's relaxed. And I haven't been doing that, and it's actually been really peaceful. I can't believe I've been walking around like bloody Morrison's trying to cheer other people up by not looking like the world has got to me, which I guess is a nice thing to do, but it has been nice to be off duty. And then finally, it doesn't matter if your breath smells. That was another thing that, you know, it's not something I've really thought about too much, but now I don't have to think about at all. Like, people don't know, people don't care. If you're going on a socially distanced walk with somebody, you're not going to get near enough to them anyway for them to smell your breath. So that's been very refreshing as well. I've been having a lot of garlic and it's been great. I wanted to leave you with a few things that I have been really enjoying during lockdown. One of them, as I said, is Next in Fashion. Now bear with, because I am really genuinely not a reality TV person anymore. I used to be, and then I just realised how fucking cruel it is, and like how unproductive, like, you know, no judgment if you want to watch this stuff, but I just found it more damaging for me to watch than it was worth it. And then I discovered Next in Fashion, which is like the Netflix show all about fashion designers. And it's so good. They basically picked people who are already really good at their craft. And the drama is there. It has been created, but it's been created around people trying to get better at the thing they do, and not really even being that competitive with each other. Like, trying to hone their craft. And there is a drama to that. There is stuff that you want to see and how they're going to manage and what they're going to do next. And you don't need to make humans fight with each other and be like poisonous to each other to create a good reality TV show. And that's what that show taught me. It also was really nice because people have to pair up and like work together, and it's like trying to be respectful, but then also like getting upset, and like that's I think focusing on teamwork rather than, you know, like Big Brother, the premise is like, oh, you have to live near each other, and then if you struggle with that, then that's what the drama is, rather than like you are trying to create something real together, like you're actually working on a productive project, and that's hard. And that's what it covers rather than the other thing. The other things I've been enjoying, watching like old classics. So I watched About a Boy with my friend Ra, like on Netflix and remotely, and it was really sweet to watch that together because we watched it, you know, a lot of time on sleepovers and stuff. So revisiting Marcus, and also realising that I used to want to be Rachel Wise in it. I used to like look at her and be like, oh, I hope I'm that pretty when I'm old. Even though she's not even fucking old. But actually realising that I related way more to Marcus's mum in that. Like a hippie, but a mess. Like an optimistic mess. And like how I was like, oh my god, I've become Marcus's mum and not Rachel Wise. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like the conversations that she has with him about McDonald's really made me laugh, because I was like, oh my god, that would be me. Well, you can have McDonald's if you'd like to, Marcus. It would just make me feel disappointed. I've also been rewatching One Tree Hill. Did anybody else used to like bloody love that show? I was obsessed, like to the point where I even spent upwards of 20 hours on Microsoft PowerPoint trying to get the lettering for Keith Scott Body Shop perfectly so that I could then print it out on my little printer and put it onto a t-shirt transfer and reproduce a Keith Scott Body Shop hoodie. Which I did. That's the thing I did. I've also been getting into like other people's nostalgia. So that's like another suggestion. Like I have been really getting into the series of Unfortunate Events, which is a series that I'd never read as a kid, and other people had and felt really nostalgic about. And I was like, I want to know what these are about. And Craig has the whole set because he really liked them as a kid. So I've started reading them and I fucking love them. Like they're just so well done. But I've talked about them in another video, so I won't go on about too much. But like, it failing your own nostalgia, like reliving other people's nostalgia is very interesting. Yeah, and then my final thought was basically when when we weren't in lockdown, me and Craig went to stay in like a socially distanced, like remote cottage for a couple of days. And Craig had gone on this big long walk and I was on my own, and I decided to go for a walk. Apart from it was like the worst walk ever, and it was like the roads were so flooded that I was like up to my ankles at points in puddles, and like it was just so miserable, and I couldn't really see, didn't really have the right kind of coat, and I was walking along the side of this road and I'd been splashed by loads of cars, like walking past all the mud down my ankles, and I was just like wanting to have fun, being like, I'm in nature, but also being like, I'm also in Britain and it's shit here sometimes. So I was just feeling really sorry for myself, and this like car pulled up and like slowed down beside me, and I was just like, oh no, because I've been living in London for like 8-9 years, and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna try and kill me. But like then I remembered that I wasn't in London. I was in like a rural countryside setting, and I forgot what people are like not outside of London, and people just like slow down to say hi. Imagine. So it was this old man and his wife, and they just like rolled down their window, and I was in this mindset of like, what the hell is going on? What does he want? And then he just like really kindly leaned out to the window to me, had a little chuckle, and was like, this is an experience and a half, isn't it? Like pointing at how heavy the rain was and what a horrible day it was. And then like nodded at me in this kind way, like, hope you're okay. And I was like, I said something just like, oh, you know, gotta love the good English weather or something. And then he kind of like chuckled and like rolled his window and went on his way. And I know that like, it's a really small moment, but it really like cheered me up because I was like, yeah, that basically sums up 2020. Like people, you know, looking over to the side of them and being like, well, this is an experience and a half, isn't it? You know, like it's kind of like, I don't know, like it's something that we've never experienced before. Some of it's not great, but like to live through it and to experience it, it's like, wow, this is a ride, isn't it? Like, and I don't know, like I think another thing that I've struggled with is when I do meet up with people. Here's another thing I wanted to talk about very quickly. She says, when I do meet up with people, I sometimes find it hard. We like not that much is happening in any of our lives, and most of our problems or most of the things that have been halted or are awkward or worrying are to do with COVID. So we just talk about that a lot, and that's, you know, I'm getting better at not talking about that, and so is everybody else, but it's hard not to, because it is like the thing that has stopped all other things happening, and probably the thing that, well, I'm getting blurry, come back to me, probably the thing that is affecting you the most. So like I feel you, I'm like the most sociable person ever, right? And I don't usually struggle socially, but like if you're struggling socially, even when you're meeting up, because I feel like sometimes it can be like, it's okay because you can meet one mate at a time and go for a walk with them. And I've been really, really enjoying that, and it's been really lovely. But like there is a thing that it doesn't fill the void completely, and that's okay. One, because of like the lack of topics and the lack of stimulation we've all had, because what the fuck is, you know, what have we been doing? Literally nothing. And I haven't really had any new thoughts or revelations either, because that takes doing things and experiencing things, but it's also just doesn't fill the void, because crowds are nice, crowds are comforting for your like Neanderthalic brain, because it's like you're in company, that means that you're safe. But like I've just realized that I miss crowds, I miss strangers, I miss walking through a crowd of people and knowing that they're having a completely experience of today than I am, and that their lives go alongside my life, and my life doesn't affect their life that much, you know, and that I don't, in some ways I miss knowing that I don't matter, and that I'm not the main character of this, and that's what I really like about London, to be honest. That's one of the things that I do like about it, is that a constant reminder of that you are small and significant. Okay, Google, stop. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to stop recording for now, and anyway, I set reminders for myself and then I piss myself off. But yeah, it's okay if you feel weird, and just because you're getting some social interaction, it's okay if it still doesn't like fulfill everything, because I didn't realize what crowds meant to me. I guess I feel like I'm just like wandering around as like some kind like horse visors, there's a word, on, and every now and then a stranger will flit into my vision out of my periphery, and I'll be like, oh, that's a stranger, I guess they're living a life too. And then I just carry on, and I like, you know, go to the supermarket, pick up my goods, go to the checkout, check them out, but you know, and I don't think that's how we're supposed to live. Especially when you're not like going to any community events or any groups or any of the clubs you might have usually been part of. Like, just meeting up with one person on their own is okay if that helps you, but doesn't do it for you completely, because we're not designed for that. That's not what community is. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if any of these thoughts were in any way helpful to you, but I'm certainly gonna watch this video back and remind myself that it's not all bad. And you know, obviously precursor, whatever it's called, I'm very privileged. I'm having a great year in a lot of ways, and that is amazing, and I'm really grateful for that, and I want to acknowledge that. But it's okay if you also have some of those privileges and you know, having a good time in so many ways, and also your brain is telling you that you're having a shit time. Like, you know, it's unfortunately, it's not okay, but it's also not unusual. Yeah, I don't want to end it on something like you're not alone, and like in that you're not alone. But I guess all there really is to say is, this is an experience and a half, isn't it? Rolls up window. I hope that even if this video didn't make very much sense to you, it was at least company for a short amount of time, for what the guy in About a Boy would say, a unit of time. My life is made up of units. A bath, 2 units.